First day of full camp, always exciting to get everybody in the building and everybody working. A little bit of rain last night, but we should be okay. And really excited to see this group, come together and start. This is a journey, as we all know, that starts right down here and starts today with everybody in the house. And we've had some really good work days already with the pitchers and catchers and a lot of the position players that have come in early. And now it's just sort of a little bit more official, and we start turning our attention towards games and really getting started with spring training here and the preparation for March 26th.
And you got a message or anything, a speech planned out?
I've got a couple thoughts to relay, it's more just about a season is just full of ups and downs. It's full of a lot of hard work. It's full of stretches where you have to fight. I don't think you can't forget that. You can't get to the World Series with any kind of shortcut. And I think that's kind of the message today. It's time to start putting our work in here now and getting prepared just like we have done in the past. I think that's kind of the message. And I know these guys are ready to do that. I think that's been the overwhelming feeling throughout the off season in our conversations. Is just this idea that they're ready to get on the field and get started, and I think that bodes really well for us, and that's a great attitude to have.
Do you write a lot of these down before you go in there, or is it just kind of in your head and you kind of have an idea?
We've, as a coaching staff, we spend time on teams calls in the off season. We talk about some of the things the messages that we want to talk about. We have some reflections on the previous year and some of the things that we learned and whatnot, and that's what all goes into it. But it all boils down really to the same thing, and that's staying present in the moment and controlling the things you can control and getting prepared. And preparation is the key. You're down here in spring training to prepare, your body and your mind for March through October, and each night you get to the ballpark during the regular season. You prepare for 7:00, and that's. Sounds simple, but that is what it is, and our guys have done such a great job of that, and it's just time to get back to that.
And has the message changed at all just because of what you guys did last year, or is it has to stay the same because that's how you got there?
No, it stays the same. It obviously gets nuanced here and there. It's different. We've all been through it, but the core of the message stays the same. Different things throughout the course of a season create different noise in our head and different distractions, but it boils down to being prepared every night at 7 and doing what we have to do to prepare our minds and our bodies for that time.
Speaking of reflecting, last year obviously was your first spring training as the manager. What did you reflect on to come back this year, and what did you learn? What did you want to take away from that and do differently, or is it the same?
Yeah, I think the thing, and I probably said this till I'm blue in the face. You're probably tired of hearing it, but just what a special group we have in that room, and just how they, they fight hard together. They want to be together. They want to fight together. They love each other in a lot of ways, and so you can't ask for more than that. And when you have that in a team, when you have that in a group of guys, and they're the ones that have developed that within each other. You can get through anything, and we kind of proved that last year. We got through some tough stretches, and that's what those guys do very, very well, and that's what jumps out at me as a manager.
Talking to you and the guys, it seems like you guys are just wholeheartedly embracing sort of the expectations and a little bit of a target now. You guys got the division title. I think you're going to be the favorites again this year. That's what you guys want, it feels like. It feels like you're really embracing that. Why is that important?
Yeah, again, I think, expectations are fine. They can bring more noise. They can bring more distraction. And I think, again, it's just a matter of keeping it simple. I think we've earned that. There's no question about it. We've earned that expectation, and this is a great team, and we're going to be ready for the season. But the thing that we can control right now is what we do, and that's how we prepare for the season, and that's what starts today.
Danny, with so many guys in camp at the start of the spring, how do you navigate getting everybody enough work to evaluate? I know younger guys are going to get opportunities in the World Baseball Classic, but how do you start off right now?
Yeah, it takes a lot of planning, and that's one of the other things that have sort of kind of been impressed upon me, just what a group effort it is, and the staff that we have is tremendous, and you've got to think it through. You've got to put down on paper a plan. It might not be the plan, but at least it's the start of a plan, and you make your adjustments as you go. But you do want to give everybody opportunities. You do want to see everybody get a chance to show you what they do, and so that that it gets mapped out ahead of time. And now, with the WBC, we've got a little added, dimension of making sure our guys get built up to where they're ready to go. And I think we're in good shape in terms of that. But today we got some rain, so here we go. We got to make some adjustments here and there. But I think we're in a good spot, and it's due in large part to this great staff that we have.
Hey, we're talking to Julio next. It feels like it's kind of been quiet. I don't know, off season or build up here for Julio for whatever reason, but he's coming off another obviously great year. Just your first full year with him. What did you learn about him, I guess, going through all that last year?
I think Julio has a lot of strength, and I think what we saw from him last year, I think we saw a huge step in terms of his maturity, and I think he learned a lot about baseball. He learned a lot about himself, and I think the key and the credit to him is he was able to put that to use. And the second half that he had was unreal, and I just am excited for him, with the baseball classic to be ready to go, and then to take that right into the first half of this year, and I think he is a guy that is full of joy, and when he plays with that joy, that's when he's at his best, and that's what we're all looking forward to. It's what he does in center field for us is unbelievable. The defense that he plays out there, and then the big hits and what he does for us offensively is enormous. So when he plays with that joy and lets it all go at game time, you really see an incredible player.
We always talk about second half Julio. How do you try to move that up in the timeline a little bit and try to get him started a little bit earlier?
Yeah, I think that's. I think again, he's learned a lot about himself, and I think as we talk about being in the moment and controlling the things we can control, and getting prepared here in the moment, I think that's what he's doing, and he's got the WBC first stop for him. He'll get into some really meaningful games right away, which I think is great. And then when he gets back with us, I know he's going to be ready, both mentally and physically on March 26th. And, that's, again, to have that reassurance that we know he's going to be ready to go is going to be great.
Dan, you don't have a ton of full squad workouts before you start games. It seems like they start sooner and sooner. What things as a group do you want to work on team-wide? Usually every year it's control the running game and get better at base running, but is there stuff like you looked at last year and said, hey, we got to be better at this as a whole for the entire part of the season?
Yeah, I think, obviously these first few days are a lot about, getting your team fundamentals down and your bunt plays and your first and thirds and the rundowns, going over everything. And you've got guys from new teams coming in. They want to learn your terminology and the things that you talk about. So that's a big part of it. But, certainly one of the concentrations we'll have in this camp is the little things that we do. And we know that little things make a big difference at the end of the day. And, that will be a focus for us. And whether that little thing ends up on the bases, whether it's, in the field, in your pre-pitch routine, whether that's CRG, a lot of little things, that we can be better at. And we saw in the World Series just how important a secondary lead can be, or whatever the case may be. A little thing can make a huge difference. So that'll be a big focus for us this spring.
As a catcher, does your guys' inability to sometimes hold runners, did that irritate you a little bit last year at times? Because it looked like at times that guys were able to take bases. It didn't matter how good of a throw Cal made or anything like that.
Yeah, I don't think you can underestimate the importance of CRG. I think our message is not wanting to give up 90 feet, regardless of that. If it's home to first to second, or second to third, or third to home, we don't want to give up 90 feet. And I think our guys did a great job in the postseason with that. I think they made some adjustments to where we were, I think, one of the best teams at CRG in the postseason. So again, it's just a matter of picking up where we left off there with that, and continuing to do that as we get started here on 26th of March.
Just to go back to Julio real quick, I know, obviously he had a great year and cut his strikeout rate down, and it was good season. Like, and he's only 25. Do you still feel like there's maybe even another level still kind of untapped with him?
I mean, he does stuff all the time that surprises you, just how good he is. And I think that, one of the areas I think that he has really made some strides in again as well is his leadership in the clubhouse. And he's 25. He does seem very young yet, but, his leadership, his maturity that he has experienced over the course of the last couple of years, I think is taken him a long way. And again, I'm excited to see, I know he approaches it a little bit differently this year, and I'm excited to see how that plays out.
How do you kind of see that? Like when you talk about the leadership you're seeing and the growth there, like in what ways do you kind of see that?
Yeah, I mean, I just his willingness to speak up, his willingness. I think you can lead by example too, and the work that he puts in, and there's a lot of different ways to lead, and I think what we're starting to see in our clubhouse is guys still being true to who they are, but leading from that place, and I think it's important that you're not trying too hard to lead, and I think when you talk about Julio, he's in a good spot to where he's doing his work, he's doing his thing, and his leadership is really starting to show.
Why do you think him and Edgar work so well together? Like the results change even when Edgar returned and took a more dominant role. Like, why do you think they work so well together?
I think Gar just has a special way of communicating hitting, and I think players sometimes click with certain coaches, and I had that experience as a player, and I was able to click with Lee Ely, my hitting coach, and I think learned just about everything from him, and so I think they just have a great relationship. I think there's a lot of respect there on both sides. Edgar, I know, respects Julio and the player and the person that he is, and I think Julio respects what Gar has done in this game and Hall of Famer. So I think it's really a great match, and I think it's paid dividends.
It does seem like Edgar doesn't tell him to do stuff. It's more like, hey, this could work, or it's suggestion based. More is like some coaches want to, hey, you got to change this. He doesn't seem to be that kind of person.
Yeah, I mean, I think Edgar has, and I've said this before, like he's got tremendous knowledge up there. He's a great hitting coach, and he's got a great message, and it's not just the message though; it's the messenger too, and how he presents it and how he brings it to players. And to your point, he's able to get the most out of guys, and whether it's their suggestion or whether it's something that he wants them to approach. He's got such a way in delivering that message that it really, really works.
All right. Thank
Thanks,
you.
Dan.
Thank you.